I'm Ben Meiselas from Legal AF, joined by our co-host Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Yesterday there was so much breaking news. It was happening fast and furious. In Fulton County, Georgia, you had the Superior Court judge presiding over the sprawling RICO case, scheduling the arraignment of Donald Trump and his co-defendants for September 6th in 15-minute increments. We had Mark Meadows testifying in federal court in the Georgia federal court. Then we go north to Washington, D.C., where we had Judge Chutkan setting a trial date in the case against Donald Trump brought by special counsel Jack Smith for Trump's attempt to overthrow our democracy, setting that trial date for March 4th of 2024. So things were happening fast and furious. I want to get into the weeds a little bit on this point, Karen, because with Judge McAfee, the Superior Court judge in Georgia, setting these arraignments for all of Trump's co-defendants and Trump taking place very soon on September 6th, McAfee is moving this case along. And I think that Donald Trump's co-defendants, Ken Chesebro, Sidney Powell, we hear John Eastman's going to do this, in demanding this speedy trial, and with Chesebro kind of being the first to do it and others seeming to join, it seems like they kind of screwed over, if you will, the plan of the other co-defendants who were hoping to delay, including Donald Trump. We know that's Donald Trump's big tactic: delay everything, push everything back, and then try to use kind of extrajudicial pressures to try to interfere and meddle with the normal streamlined judicial processes. So first we hear Chesebro makes this speedy trial demand under Georgia law. Let me just explain what a speedy trial demand under Georgia law is. It's a very kind of unique procedure. Other states, of course, have speedy trial laws. The Constitution of the United States under the Sixth Amendment has a speedy right to a speedy trial. So this is a concept that's not unique, but its applicability in Georgia is unique because speedy means very speedy. If a criminal defendant in the case invokes the Speedy Trial Act, a trial has to take place. A jury has to be seated during the term where the demand is made or the following term. And if a jury is seated one day after the following term of that court, the case automatically gets dismissed on the merits, can't be brought back. Double jeopardy applies, and the person's innocent if the prosecutor can't bring it to trial. And so in Fulton County, we're currently in a July term, which ends at the end of August. That then starts the next term, the September term, which ends at the end of October. So Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis had to respond when Ken Chesebro, Donald Trump's co-defendant and a former lawyer of Trump's who was involved in the fake elector scheme and trying to pressure state legislatures. And there's all these documented stuff with Chesebro. When Chesebro demanded the speedy trial, you had a situation where Fani Willis had to say, all right, I'm ready to go October 23rd. But she didn't just say that, Karen. She said, I want to try everybody's case now, October 23rd. I was thinking March of 2024, but hey, Chesebro's ready. So I'm ready for Trump. I'm ready for everybody else. And if Chesebro thought he was going to somehow separate himself from Team Crazy, he was wrong, because Sidney Powell and John Eastman, they requested the speedy trial as well. So, Karen, this may have real serious implications on everybody. There's a world where, after the arraignment, we hear McAfee saying, you know what, I want to bring this whole case in October of 2023. And it makes Trump's case harder to try to delay.
Yeah, I mean, look, what's crazy, and the reason this really screws Trump is because it's really hard for Trump to say, you know what, I need, 2 years to prepare. There's too much evidence here. If you've got his lawyers, right, not just Team Crazy, but you've got Ken Chesebro, who's, somewhat of a respected, he used to be a respected lawyer. If you've got him saying, I can be ready, and John Eastman saying, I can be ready, and Sidney Powell saying, I can be ready, it's really hard for Trump's lawyers to say, you know what, gee, we need more time. We can't be ready. So that's why it screws Donald Trump and others completely, for sure. It's interesting how it's the lawyers who are starting to break off, right? Because that's the thing the three of them have in common. The lawyers are going to want to mount a united defense, apparently, it seems, where they're going to say, look, we were just giving legal advice. We're just the lowly old lawyers here. We weren't part of any of this. We just give, the whole range of advice. This, if this, then that. And, it's kind of a layup for, for the Team Trump, who can then turn and say, see, they were just giving legal advice. We were just relying on legal advice. And therefore, Trump can avail himself of the advice of counsel defense. So that's clearly what that whole thing is shaping up to be. Note that anyone can withdraw, any of these defendants can withdraw their request for a speedy trial at any time. The judge, for judicial economy reasons, will, if anyone who's requesting a speedy trial, he'll set them all on the same date, because the cases are joined, right? He won't sever them. He'll keep them together to have as few trials as possible. But, we still don't even know if the case will be in state court, because we've got the removal proceeding going on with Mark Meadows right now, as well as we speak. And that case, if the judge could decide not to could remand him back, right, to state court, or he can choose to remove Mark Meadows to federal court. Additionally, he can say, you know what, the whole case is going up to federal court. If that happens, then the speedy trial demand will not apply. The federal rules of evidence will apply, including the fact that it will not be televised, because don't forget, in Georgia, that would require the case to be televised, because that's what the law is there, but cameras typically aren't allowed in federal court. So it's very interesting what they're trying to do here. I think Ken Cheeseborough was a little bit chastened by the fact that Team Crazy has hitched her wagon to his. That does not, if I were him, I would not want that. I'd want to separate myself from her and everybody else and say, look, Team Crazy is the one giving the crazy criminal advice. I was just trying to give actual, real legal advice. That's what he's going to want to do. But if they are all lumped together now, that does not help his defense. So we'll see. Stay tuned if that's really going to happen in October. I'm not sure. I'd say it's a 50-50 chance at this point whether that actually happens in October, but it's set for it. So, it's something to watch for sure.
As the year progresses, it's so important to stay on top of your mental health and fitness. We here at Legal AF and the MeidasTouch Network are constantly bringing you the latest news and updates, so we have to stay sharp between the ears at all times. Frankly, life gets busy, and sometimes you end up sacrificing food and good foods and snacks for unhealthy ones strictly because they seem more convenient. I am guilty of that. I'm guilty of grabbing a bag of potato chips on the go, and because it's really easy. Then Mosh has decided to sponsor us, and I tasted them and I was surprised. They are absolutely delicious. I love them, and I am grabbing them now on the go and eating them every day instead of the unhealthy snacks that I was grabbing. They have 6 delicious flavors, and each Mosh bar comes packed with 12 grams of protein and made with ingredients that support brain health, like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. It's only 160 calories a day and 1 gram of sugar, and the protein bars are guilt-free, and they're great for your brain and your body. Your brain is your number one tool, which is why Mosh protein bars were mindfully formulated by some of the top neuroscientists and functional nutritionists. Founded by Patrick Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver, Mosh is a mission-driven brain health and wellness company that donates a portion of all proceeds to support women's brain research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement at Cleveland Clinic. I absolutely love the Mosh protein bars. I really do. They're delicious, savory, and they're a great snack to keep your brain and body fit, fueled, and feeling good. We're constantly doing different videos or podcasts, and so I'm able to enjoy these Mosh protein bars easily and enjoyably between each of these hot takes and between tasks. So don't settle for a mediocre snack when you can nourish your body and mind with the fuel it needs to succeed. So whether you're at the gym, on the go, or just living your best life, Mosh protein bars will help your brain and body stay fit, fueled, and feeling good. Head to moshlife.com. That's moshlife.com/legalaf to save 20% off, plus free shipping on your first 6 6-count trial pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack, which includes all 6 mouth-watering flavors. MOSHLIFE.com/legalAF. Try Mosh today and use legalAF to save 20% plus free shipping at moshlife.com/legalAF.
And the reason why you give it 50-50 is not because anything of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. She has to try that case by that date in order to make sure she's in compliance with Georgia's Speedy Trial Act. The issue that you think could happen is now Chesbrough looks at Sidney Powell and Eastman and goes, oh man, I'm shoulder to shoulder with Team Crazy. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to say I was the normal one. And then you're going to have, is Sidney Powell going to testify? I mean, you got Sidney Powell talking about seizing voting machines. You got Sidney Powell talking about, space lasers and satellites that are hooked up to Hugo Chavez. And it's going to be a very clear message to the jury. Hey, you were part of that legal team. Were you not? And then what? Chesbrough is going to point his finger at Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell is going to point her finger at Chesbrough. Then there's going to be videos of Eastman from the day of the insurrection, basically calling on the insurrectionists to storm the Capitol. You're going to have all of that going down.
Yeah. And on top of that, just to add to what you're saying, 2 things. Number one, don't forget John Eastman, it was in civil court, but in California, he was already found to be more likely than not, the crime fraud exception applied to the attorney-client privilege, right? And the Chapman, the guy, the law professor who works at Chapman, I can't remember his name now, but in that case, he was already found by a federal judge to be more likely than not, basically a co-conspirator. So, John Eastman has some pretty bad facts against him. And on top of that, Chesbrough, until that December 6th memo came out recently, I would have said there was a thin case against him. I think the December 6th memo where he's basically outlining the crime, as well as the fact that he was on the ground with Alex Jones, making sure that there was chaos. He's no longer just the lawyer in a law firm sitting back giving advice. Now he's given a criminal roadmap and then making sure it's implemented by being on the ground, following around Alex Jones on the day of by the Capitol of January 6th. So I think there's a strong case against him now, but I think that was the reason he was also separating. I think he believes there was a thinner case against him.
Yeah, and then that was federal judge David Carter right out here in the Central District of California, Southern Division, who made that ruling that Eastman was involved in a coup in search of a legal theory with Donald Trump. So now you'll have coup Eastman. You're going to have Chesbrough, and you'll have, Sidney Powell, who's the craziest of the bunch, and I shouldn't make light of it because also a very dangerous person who's engaged in very heinous acts as well. And by the way, to your point, Karen, if that goes at that date, and again, one of the reasons that you go, maybe it doesn't, is Chesbrough going to say, I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this. Like I'm going to withdraw the speedy trial request now. But then you still have the trial of Sidney Powell and Eastman that would take place in that time period. That will be televised. And we're going to cover it here on the MeidasTouch Network. So you'll see that live streamed on YouTube. We may have to even create a whole new YouTube channel just for showing all of these, we'll call it Meidas Georgia trials. I'll think about what we can do with that. But if there are convictions there, then you're going to see a lot of, I think, plea agreements that are going to be reached by the other co-defendants there, who are then going to agree to cooperate against Donald Trump for Trump's trial, if Trump's trial is at a later date. And, I think that, it's actually when Chesbrough did that, if he thought that he was calling Fani Willis's bluff, Fani Willis is like, this is a gift. This is great. This is what I wanted. I've been preparing for this moment. And you have to have that mentality as a prosecutor, Karen. I mean, obviously for all of our viewers who watch Legal AF, they know your background as the former number 2 at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. But I'll let you close it with this. I mean, you basically ran the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for many decades. And so as a prosecutor, if you're bringing a case like this, if Chesborough thought you're calling out the prosecutor, that's something that is very mistaken. A prosecutor will actually, a good prosecutor will be like, that's what I wanted. Yes, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, like a good prosecutor, a pro, which Fani Willis has proven to be over and over and over again. I'm just so impressed with her. You know, you're a master chess player. You're ready for whatever is going to be thrown at you. And certainly, she was aware of this Georgia speedy trial potential demand, right? It's unlike any speedy trial I've ever seen, even in the rocket docket jurisdictions, having to be ready you have to have a jury sat and sworn before the end of either the term in which you presented the case or the next term. That's a matter of like 2 months, 3 months. That's a very, very fast speedy trial, even for the rocket docket jurisdictions. So she obviously is well aware of her speedy trial laws. And so when she said last March, after, don't forget the special purpose grand jury ended in January of this year and issued its report, she said in March that her decisions were imminent. We were all very frustrated by how long it was taking, but clearly the reason it was taking so long was she knew she had to be ready to try the case immediately. She had to have the entire trial ready. So she's ready. And don't forget when Chesborough asked for a speedy trial, he asked for November. And she said, no, let's do October, because she's giving herself enough time to have the jury seated and sworn, because that's what has to happen. And, it's still under the wire. And I found that head scratching. What if people say I can't be fair, or I can't sit for a trial this long, or I can't be fair because I have strong opinions, I'm a Trump supporter, or I hate Trump, or whatever it is. This is going to be no easy task to find a jury. And so it's not it won't be her fault necessarily. So what happens then? Because if she doesn't have a jury sworn by the end of the next term, the case gets dismissed on the merits. It's an acquittal. It's no one's responsible. And so my understanding is what happens is the judge will work 7 days a week, 18-hour days, anything they have to do to get a jury, because they know what the stakes are if they don't. So this is intense. She was ready, and she is a real pro. I'm so impressed by Fani Willis.
Couldn't agree more with you. Everyone, check out Legal AF wherever audio podcasts are available. Make sure you subscribe to Legal AF and check out MeidasTouch.com for all the breaking news that we cover here and elsewhere throughout the MeidasTouch network. Have a great day. And Karen and I will be back with, we call these our legal duets. We'll be back with some more legal duets soon. Have a great one.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.